Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in the 5-card spread? First card flying out of the deck this morning, we have here our King of Wands, and they are in their upright. We like to see this masculine energy moving from an area of swift communication, clarification, planning. It's not surprising that we saw feminine in this modality just a couple days ago. Masculine reflecting back what feminine's modality was in just that short time ago. This is also coming through right now. You will recall yesterday, what did feminine need on the part of the masculine? Feminine needed that emotional boost. Feminine needed that emotional support. Feminine had to help masculine a bit yesterday, more in the tangible space, because we saw here that masculine was feeling a little bit more of that frustration. Remember how feminine was almost saying to masculine, slow it down, move with intentionality, move with planning. This is what masculine's doing. Masculine taking the advice of feminine here. Masculine almost potentially utilizing this as well, because seeing the feminine energy in that modality of feeling that lack of confidence. One of the messages that we saw that was heavily coming through for masculine towards feminine yesterday was almost saying and amplifying to feminine that feminine energy's own ability to do something needed to be navigated in terms of how much the feminine energy was trying to do at once. So it was almost like these energies were reflecting back messages to one another. But feminine was saying it to masculine more in a level or degree of care and concern in the physical space. Masculine was giving that same level of slowing down and utilizing prioritization and planning on the part of the feminine that was having that emotional point. So for both energies right now, that ability to plan and communicate is going to become very heavy and important today in the divine union frequency. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union. This is masculine looking and working with feminine as a co-creator, opening up, telling feminine their plans, telling feminine their aspiration. Again, this is that breakthrough energy that we're seeing for the energy moving into divine union right now, because masculine, if this is a moment or modality where you said the hard thing to feminine and it didn't create a waver point in the feminine, but instead you saw a feminine that was truly able to embody and hold the openness that they asked for, this is almost masculine starting to feel even more confidence in connecting with feminine as it relates to plans, communication, ideas, aspirations in terms of where you're going, what are you doing. Looking masculine, feeling that level or degree of confidence now is almost building this sensation now where, again, divine union feels like something that is beautiful because it doesn't feel like you have to create in a bubble. You're creating with the feminine and masculine. That surge of creativity, that surge of confidence in seeing a feminine that is able to hear difficult things and still maintain a level or degree of excitement, of energy forward, it is immediately amplifying your own ability of feeling confidence as it relates to what you're creating with the feminine. Feminine, if you had a moment yesterday where masculine brought some difficult things to you, had these difficult conversations, but instead of it creating a reactivity point, instead of it creating a moment where you yourself reacted in an unhealthy way or effectively pushed the masculine away in a place where they were trying to be vulnerable, if instead you maintained a point of stoicism, allowing that confidence, supporting the masculine in being open in this modality, you may be recognizing and seeing a masculine that's now opening up to even greater way. And that ability of seeing a masculine that feels that level or degree of trust in you is going to feel like a bit of a benchmark, because it does feel like a personal victory. Because while you may have had to go through something that felt like it was difficult yesterday, you're immediately potentially reaping the benefits of a masculine that you're recognizing. And again, you feel that gift of being co-creators, a masculine who's looking at you more as a peer. And as a peer and as a co-creator, you are setting forth in terms of the plans that you're moving forward at this time. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is feminine energy seeking out this type of energy in separation right now. This is feminine energy that, again, this is potentially feminine energy that's pushing away from something. And the reason that this is feeling like it is difficult right now is that feminine energy is not questioning the desire aspect of some of the energy that they're moving away from right now. This is feminine energy almost trying to say the desire is beautiful, but it is not the grounds through which one can build an entire divine union. It's a facet of the greater whole. And this is feminine, again, seeking out, opening up towards masculine energy that has this ability of openness. This could even be feminine energy in separation right now, talking to masculine energy that's open in this way about some of the experiences in the past that they're moving away from, all for the sake of recognizing the difference or the value point of a masculine that can understand and provide insight and clarity on what is being experienced. Feminine energy, again, this is almost telling any energy of masculine coming towards you in a way that feels like it is just based or generated from the desire center of the masculine. The difference between masculine energy just moving towards feminine from a desire context versus providing feminine that clarity, that perspective, that understanding. Working with feminine as opposed to working towards feminine. Masculine in separation right now. This could be that modality of healing and insight that is potentially occurring around situations and circumstances at this time. If you're in separation, we even see there's something productive that is happening at this point of a separation. There is this point of deeper clarity. There is this point of deeper understanding. This ability to recognize and understand, again, for the masculine in separation, it's going to feel like a little bit of breakthrough energy. And it's a positive if this is breakthrough energy, because understanding the nuance of a situation or circumstance is giving and helping you decide what it is that you truly want going forward. Because we see here for a lot of the masculine energy, especially if this is a modality where feminine is trying to amplify this to you, the recognition that this is not feminine trying to drag you into a modality that you're not ready for. This is a feminine energy that is seeking clarity and understanding on what it is that you desire. Even in separation right now, this could be leading to a little bit of personal journey in terms of asking one's own self what that looks like. Moving with intentionality even in separation. So even here we see that something about these difficult circumstances that have been rising up right now are helping. For the energy of the masculine coming into divine union right now, that ability of being able to look backwards right now and see that there may have been some opportunity to bring this type of clarity to situations in the past that may have led to better breakthroughs, it feels a little bittersweet. But again, having that modality of forgiveness for oneself, recognizing that that past version of self might not have been healed and ready to have that breakthrough. Even now we see that that's that moment of almost allowing yourself a level or degree of forgiveness, which is something we also want to carry forward in this work. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is King of Swords in its reversal. Masculine energy in separation right now. One of the things that I keep seeing this coming through right now, there's a lot of masculine energy in separation right now that is turning towards other masculines. There's something about this now coming through as a point of support for one another. Masculine energy right now, this could even be articulating and amplifying, feeling like there's other masculine energy coming towards you at this time, and feeling some level or degree of perception, as it were, in terms of something that other masculine energy is bringing forward to you that's not even related to your own position or circumstance, that is lending some level or degree of clarity. This is almost coming through. I have to stress, have you ever had that modality where you're giving someone advice, and as you're giving someone advice, you're like, oh, I should take that advice. I should take that advice. I should take what I'm being told right now that I'm giving forward, and I'm giving it back to the self. So we're seeing here that for some of the masculine energy and separation right now, there's something that you're receiving in the back and forth between you and potentially some other masculine energy that feels like, in a level or degree, it's helping to inform you. And this is either one side of this or the other right now, masculine. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. This is masculine. You're either going towards another masculine source to get some kind of clarity, or Masculine energy, this is someone coming towards you right now at a time that they need this clarity, but something that you're bringing forth is giving you insight in the process of sharing it. Masculine, feminine energy right now in separation. This is potentially talking to masculine about other masculine energy. This is potentially talking to a masculine around other masculine energy, because again, feminine energy right now potentially feels like if there's energy in separation right now and there's masculine energy that's trying to come towards feminine, but what they're bringing forth to the feminine, it's like that point of feminine being like, I can't make them understand. This is literally feminine energy going towards other masculine energy, trying to get the point of insight and saying, does this person not actually understand, or is this some kind of intentional obtuseness that I'm experiencing? This is feminine energy literally potentially going to other masculine energy to try to get that point of clarity in recognizing and understanding if what they're experiencing on the part of this masculine energy is truly something that is due to a lack of understanding, or if it is due to the energy intentionally being obtuse or intentionally trying to hide something from the feminine. What's the answer that feminine in separation is potentially getting from other masculine energy? It's actually neither one of those things. It's potentially fear. It's potentially fear. And what we see here is almost the energy of feminine getting that point of insight from other masculine, saying, you know, the problem when we move in a space of fear is that fear can often feel like manipulation. Fear can block us from our own perception. This is almost, again, getting that point of insight. It may be making things even more difficult for some of the feminine in this modality because, again, it's almost lending that level or degree of empathy or sympathy to a situation. But that point of recognizing that you cannot help someone through their own fear. It is what we do during a moment of fear that amplifies our own place on the journey. So what we are seeing here is, again, more of that almost sad but true mentality that's potentially occurring right now, because it's the fact that even in separation right now, feminine is getting some kind of insight, showing that level or degree of care towards an energy, even if they're having to push it away. But it isn't necessarily helping. It's almost a masculine energy amplifying to feminine in separation. There's not much you can do for a masculine if the masculine's moving from a point or place of fear, because that is something that the masculine needs to conquer within the self. Masculine in coming into divine union right now, this is that forgiveness of the self that we were experiencing. Remember how I told you that if you were moving into that point of breakthrough, if you're opening up to a feminine right now and recognizing that this isn't a feminine that runs away from that, but instead embraces it, you're feeling like you're a co-creator right now. You're feeling like you're experiencing something that you haven't experienced before, and suddenly it feels like a gut punch because you're recognizing potentially places in the past where this was the hurdle that you may not even have recognized prior to coming through it. This is looking at the past self and trying to bring some level or degree of forgiveness and clarity here. This is looking at the past self and, again, feeling almost like that externalization point and looking at oneself and being like, I see it now. I see that thing I could not see in myself before. And it's hard. We see here that this is a moment that feels like a heavy burden because it's looking at the past self, not looking at the past self with a place of empathy. It's almost looking at the past self. And this is why I said for masculine energy going through this right now, I want you to be easy on yourself at this time. Because it may be looking at that past self with a level of degree of saying that person was afraid. That may even be feeling like this level or degree of aversion to that version of the past self because it's looking at the past self and feeling some kind of revulsion of cowardice. But recognizing, embracing that, holding space and understanding that the way that we become strong is by facing our fears. We cannot hold it against ourselves in the moments that we weren't able to rise through that. There's a lot of this work right now in recognizing that that past version of self moved you into this modality. And being able to hold space for that right now is going to be very important as you proceed forward from this point. Feminine, this could be this modality that you're potentially experiencing right now in relation to a masculine. If this is new energy, if this is energy just coming into divine union for the first time, this is potentially conversations about past versions, past situations, past experiences with masculine, wherein you experience this point of fear. This is feminine potentially saying, amplifying, supporting masculine, being like, I recognize why it might have been so hard for you to open up in this way. Let me tell you about the past experiences where I wasn't able, where I also had energy that wasn't able to be as brave as you are. That moment right now is almost building connective tissue with masculine and feminine, but it may feel very difficult for masculine even in this moment, because this could be a feeling like that mentality, and even saying to feminine, I used to be like that too. I've had moments that I was like less than open. That ability to recognize the past version of self is building the connective tissue right now for energy moving into divine union. Point of reference to allow for productivity. Energy that is coming back into divine union right now. This is that potential moment of potential observation of breakthrough that is allowing feminine to feel confident that something has shifted here. Because this is a masculine energy that's providing that clarity to feminine and saying, I recognize in the past I wasn't open in this way. I recognize in the past I wasn't creating an environment through which we could move together in divine union because I was operating out of fear. I was operating out of fear of losing you, as opposed to bravery and trying to build with you. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. The difference between operating from a state of fear, for fear of losing someone, versus a state of bravery for what you could build with someone. And masculine, observing the difference between those two modalities, is what is allowing feminine now to feel like, again, there has been a shift that's occurring, because this is a masculine that is working with feminine instead of feeling like they're trying to possess feminine. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency, this modality right now, this is masculine feeling that lack of confidence. And one of the things that's beautiful about this right now is, what is masculine doing in relation to feminine having those doubts, having those fears? Is masculine negating them to feminine? Is masculine saying, stop doing that? Is masculine saying like, no, this is masculine almost saying to feminine, those doubts, those fears you feel, that uncertainty, I feel it too. And this is masculine almost helping feminine right now through their own doubts in their own ability to execute, in their own ability to move forward, by amplifying to the feminine and saying, I also feel that all the time. What you're feeling is not unique to you. I struggle with it as well. This is how I get myself out of that headspace. So feminine, masculine, again, even now working with feminine, helping them through their own hurdles in doubting their self, is building that connective tissue, and it's coming from a point of empathy instead of criticism. Feminine, having this ability of masculine that observes their own vulnerabilities, their own weaknesses. Masculine taking the time to say, listen, I feel this too. I share in this with you. That again helps the feminine, because it makes the feminine feel like they're not alone. And taking that observation point from a masculine is not feeling like a masculine telling the feminine how they should move. This is coming from a point of care, empathy, and advice. Third card in our 5-card spread for today is 10 of Cups in its reversal. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency. This ability to give forth to one another right now. This ability to offer this up. This ability, again, this openness is what amplifies the energy in the divine union frequency, because it's that moment that even in moments of deficit, you just overgive more. You put more towards it. That ability to always kind of share and be expressive here is almost this moment, even to the fact of masculine potentially saying to feminine right now, there are moments that I feel like that. I don't show it. Opening up about what you don't show is almost what we're seeing is happening right now for the energy in the divine union. And a masculine that's willing to be vulnerable in that way for feminine feels like it creates a point of connected tissue, because this is feminine energy that doesn't want masculine to put a wool over their eyes. This is wants masculine to be that's honest to feminine in all things. So even masculine being able to be open in this way towards feminine feels like this is a masculine that the feminine can trust, because this is a masculine that has beautiful ability to see their own self, even in the places that they are weak. Feminine amplifying that and recognizing that, and again, helping them come out of that head space that they were going in, with a masculine that's almost willing to show them that they are not experiencing that in solitude. Masculine and feminine moving right now, coming into divine union. One of the things that we're seeing here is this moment, and this is why it could feel a little overwhelming for energy coming into divine union out of separation right now, is if this is a masculine that is opening up for the first time. It feels like a point that may have brought a lot of personal conflict to it, because the ability to do so may feel like a lesson that you just learned. It feels like a breakthrough. And sometimes when we experience a breakthrough, we can hold a lot of frustration to ourselves, because our ability to see something and do something that we can't do can really affect our ability to look back on the past and feel a level or degree of frustration with our own self for having not learned something sooner. So we're seeing here that there's something energetically happening right now for some of the masculine energy coming into divine union right now that may feel very overwhelming, because it's almost that ability of observing one's past lessons, but seeing them potentially more as mistakes than lessons. So it's really important right now for the masculine energy coming into divine union to observe that. Any moments in the past wherein you are not less than perfect, especially if you could not recognize it at the time, those were lessons. They were not mistakes. This could even be feminine energy coming into divine union with masculine. If you're having these discussions about what needed to be corrected in the past, this is potentially feminine energy amplifying that message to masculine right now, coming through from a point of forgiveness. Because again, the energy that is experiencing a masculine that is opening up for the first time, it's not holding it against the masculine for not being forthright in this way. This is a feminine that observes that they themselves also have reached points where it is hard to express something for fear of rejection. Masculine and feminine in separation right now, this is why we see some of the masculine energy right now is turning to other masculine energy, because of potentially a situation and circumstance wherein they opened up to feminine. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender. It feels what feels most aligned to. And rather than experiencing that welcoming, rather than experiencing that breakthrough, you experienced what your worst fear was. This is potentially masculine energy having opened up to feminine in this way and experienced exactly what they thought would happen, which is potentially rejection, abandonment. In which case, we see here that this is masculine turning for some kind of support potentially to other masculine energy. And even in this modality, we see that this is a moment, and we appreciate this potentially, again, if this is masculine going towards other masculine energy, this could be masculine energy that is helping amplify the fact that the masculine did not do anything wrong there. This is potentially even masculine helping to identify and articulate to masculine energy that moving and operating from a state of openness is never a bad thing. That in itself was an attempt to heal something, was an attempt to move into a positive, healed karmic situation or circumstance. So even now we see that this is masculine energy trying to get some clarity as it relates to how they moved, potentially from other masculine energy that they trust that feels like they are on a healing journey. Masculine, feminine energy right now in separation. If this is a modality wherein masculine keeps trying to come towards you, but the masculine isn't providing the clarity that you're asking for. The masculine is not coming, is still reactive. The masculine is like moving in this modality wherein they're holding, they just want to seem like they want possession of you rather than working as co-creators. This is almost feminine turning to other masculine and articulating about the impossibility point of the situation or circumstance. Because this is feminine energy that, again, doesn't want to have to push a masculine away, but feels like that this is a masculine that they clearly see isn't being open with them. It's an impossibility spectrum of alternatives, because this is feminine almost trying to amplify a masculine, like, what can I possibly do here if I can see the fact that they're not being open with me? And everything I do to ask them just amplifies their own ability to not be open in that way, but they just continue to push forward. This is feminine turning towards other masculine energy, potentially for advice on this, to try to get some kind of insight. And if again, this is a feminine energy that's so desiring of wanting to fix something, they're trying to look at other masculine and say, is there something else I'm missing? Is there something else I could be doing right now? And this is almost masculine energy if they're meeting them in this way, saying, no, you really can't. If the masculine energy isn't open and willing, they're still moving and operating in that mentality of fear. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Fourth card in our 5-card spread. You know, this is almost, again, why we see that a lot of the feminine energy in this cycle of separation is getting affirmation right now, potentially from other healed masculine energy, in relation to the choice of letting something go. Because this is feminine energy that's feeling someone that's like amplifying that they want to be with them. Feminine feels like they have to let them go because being with them is creating an impossibility place. It's creating a place where feminine, you know, would literally have to pretend they don't see something. It's impossible. And so that's why we see that this is feminine energy that's so desperate to correct this situation without letting it go, that they're trying to turn to other masculine energy to get that point of clarity and insight, to say, is there something here that I'm missing? Is there something here I could do? And they're almost getting immediate affirmation from other masculine energy that's amplifying the fact of feminine, saying, no, you've done everything you can. Potentially even masculine saying, you're doing the right thing. Masculine and in separation right now, if this is a modality wherein the masculine tried to be open with a feminine energy, and the feminine energy, rather than being accepting and open with them like they said that they desired, rejected the masculine, pushed them away. This is masculine mirroring the feminine in separation right now, looking to other masculine and saying, there's nothing I could do. It was an impossibility spectrum. They asked me to be honest, and then when I was honest, they pushed me away. That's why I was creating the illusion in the start. This is masculine looking and saying, did I miss something here? And this is other masculine energy that's healed that are saying, no, you have to let them go, because they want to operate in an impossibility place too. You can't be in a place with someone that says that they want the truth, but then isn't ready to handle the truth. That's impossible. So both of these energies are almost hitting like a logical fallacy point right now in terms of having connection points, that they're getting affirmation that there's no other choice but to release an energy right now. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union. This is that breakthrough point that's allowing progress forward, and potentially the energy coming back into divine union. This is someone being like, wow, I really put you in an impossible situation back then, didn't I? Someone being like, yes, you did. Like, this is literally the energy. This is that accountability that we're potentially seeing, because masculine, you're potentially seeing this moment, especially if you're having this breakthrough in this way, that you're like, oh, yeah, I understand now. I understand why there might have been so much feminine energy that kept pushing me away and releasing me, because I see the impossibility point that I was forcing someone to inhabit by saying that I wanted them, and them seeing that I wasn't being open with them, and then me refusing to be open with them about the things that they were seeing. Like, you're seeing it, and that in itself is a bit of a breakthrough point, because you're recognizing your own point of culpability that may have led to some circumstances in the past that required, that put you in this modality prior to this point. So even now, masculine energy, that ability to heal here is a bit of the gift, because while it may be an observation on your own limitations in the past, you're recognizing it from the perspective of someone who's grown and broken through them. Feminine energy seeing this on the part of a masculine right now. This is either a new connection coming into divine union with a masculine that's very open potentially walking through and being like, I made some mistakes. And feminine, almost again, much like the energy in the divine union frequency, amplifying to masculine, being like, you didn't make mistakes. You clearly learned your lesson. Your ability to articulate on something that you may have done that may have created a blockage in the past is the clarification of healing. You can't heal what you can't see. Your ability to see it is the first sign. So what we're seeing here is, again, the energy coming into divine union. The problem that feminine's helping masculine with right now is carrying their own weight of accountability, potentially either around past circumstances or situations where they were potentially had the possibility of union, fell into separation, and now they're coming back together because masculine isn't just trying to come back to feminine. Masculine observes what they need to change in terms of their connection point to feminine that will actually allow the possibility of divine union. Energy in the divine union frequency right now. This is something that feminine, you may be helping masculine again with some kind of burden of support. This is masculine potentially bringing forth to feminine right now observations of past experiences, hurdles that they themselves had to cross that allowed for a point of breakthrough. And masculine in the divine union frequency has forgiven themselves for these things. They still carry this burden, but we see here to a certain extent that there's a lot of energy right now that is amplifying for the energy in the divine union frequency. And I need to stress this today for all the energy of masculine in the divine union, not being so hard on yourself. Because again, masculine in the divine union frequency, you're literally trying to say to feminine that you shouldn't be so hard on yourself. Now masculine's almost needing that same message back to them to a certain degree today. But we appreciate that the energy in the divine union frequency, the masculine energy, the gift is masculine. You've already gone through a bit of this healing journey. This is masculine almost saying to feminine, I am also very hard on myself. You know this about me. So this is almost masculine bringing this forth to feminine in the divine union frequency, not because it feels like a great burden, but it's almost something that masculine's like, I carry that feeling all the time. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now. Fifth card in our 5-card spread. Four of Pentacles in its reversal. The energy in the divine union frequency. I mean, it's funny because masculine and feminine are basically mirroring each other right now. You're both feeling that anxiety of confidence. You're feeling that point. Masculine is carrying it like a bit more, with a bit more of a, I want to say masculine's utilizing this more right now to bring it to the attention of the feminine, to help the feminine not feel alone in that feeling. This is almost masculine bringing this forth right now to say to the feminine, we are in, you don't, and again, it's almost like you don't need to doubt yourself, because I don't doubt you. I have faith in you. And this is almost masculine saying to feminine, I see how much you do. I see how hard you work. Masculine saying, again, these are things I struggle with too. And sometimes I have these same problems. Feminine saying this back. This is like, remember the difference between ping, like this is a game right now of catch. Two energies basically saying, it's not always easy. It's hard. But our ability to continue forward, even at those moments that we doubt ourselves, is exactly what the gift is that we give to each other. So this is feeling like a lot of that confidence coming through right now. Heavily more on the side of a masculine, observing this and amplifying this to help the feminine through a moment that they themselves are trying to build a bit of a breakthrough. Masculine and feminine coming into the divine union frequency right now. This is potentially, feminine, this may feel right now, coming into the divine union frequency, more on the part of having to amplify to masculine that it's okay to having not been perfect in the past. Because we're seeing here a lot of this energy of divine if this is divine masculine, if this is masculine energy coming into the divine union frequency for the first time, this is masculine energy that's seeing things in a way that they haven't seen it before. And a lot of that seeing things in a way they haven't seen it before is seeing the perception of the past self in a way that may feel like it's very overwhelming and very heavy. It's requiring masculine to move into a place of forgiving the past self for a lot of those lessons that brought them to where they are today. So we see that a lot of the energy potentially being utilized today in the energy coming into divine union is almost feminine having to show masculine the difference between holding regret and what one does holding regret versus having that situation and circumstance and understanding the value of every step leading you to the moment that you have that point of breakthrough. So that ability right now to be able to help masculine carry some of this, it feels heavy. It feels like masculine holding a lot of energy that they're trying to shift from regret to forgiveness within their own self. Masculine energy in separation, this is that moment wherein you may be going towards some energy right now. If in separation, I see two different modalities of masculine and separation right now. This is either masculine in separation that's not understanding why feminine energy is giving mixed messages. Why feminine energy is saying that they want to be with someone but they can't. And this is masculine potentially trying to clarify to other masculine energy and showing them what they need to get, like the desire for feminine to move and give forth towards them is different than masculine just moving towards a feminine. This could also be, again, if this is a masculine energy that is in separation because they were open in this way. And instead of receiving that promise of support, that promise of understanding from the feminine, if instead it's been met or matched by hostility, resistance, this is almost masculine energy getting support from other masculine energy and saying, what you did was fine. What you did was the right thing. What you did took a lot of courage. And you're being put in an impossible situation, particularly if someone's asking for something and then they can't navigate or handle it when you provide it. Feminine energy in separation right now, this is just feeling like a sense of deep, deep frustration. Deep, deep pain. Because what we're effectively identifying here is this moment wherein, again, feminine energy does not want to release a masculine here. Feminine energy feels effectively, potentially, if this is something that's happening, the feminine doesn't have a choice. Feminine energy is literally going to other masculine saying, what else can I possibly do? And this is almost masculine energy, if in separation, different masculine energy saying, you've done everything that you can do. This is masculine energy almost affirming to a feminine saying, if you ask them, if you told them for this honesty and they're still not bringing it to you, then there's nothing more you can do. You just have to release it. And that even in itself is something that is so difficult for the feminine. They're looking to other masculine to see if they can get any other advice on what they can potentially do to fix something. Continuing to get clarity right now between Knight, King of Wands, and our King of Swords in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification. This is hard work right now. This is hard work. Heavy lifting today, even for the energy in the divine union frequency. Masculine is potentially helping feminine. This is the masculine and feminine in divine union, sharing that burden, reminding each other. The way that this is becoming easy is the reminding of each other that you don't need to carry something alone. That this is energy that's spread across, that the ability to bear and share a burden together is the gift of divine union. Sometimes all we need is that reminder that we're not in something alone, that we're not moving in separation, that we're not in a place where we have to bear that burden. And so we see here that diffusion, that ability to hold space for each other is what is happening right now in the energy of the divine union. Masculine almost saying to feminine to a certain extent, nothing, and again, even if this is feminine energy that has been carrying the weight of doubting oneself because of what may have occurred in the past, because we saw that heavily in the past coming through yesterday. This is potentially masculine energy providing insight on why masculine in the past may have felt the feminine could doubt themselves like that. If this is a feminine energy that's telling masculine, the stories that they were told about themselves by other masculine energy, this is masculine almost saying, if someone told you that, that's because they wanted you to carry the weight for them. If someone told you that, that's because someone was scared of you. If someone told you that about yourself in the past, that was someone that was utilizing you to serve their own purposes, and it made it easier for them, if you believe that, because it made you have to do all of the work. So that ability right now for masculine, even in the divine union, giving feminine clarity on something from the past that they've been carrying that feels like a burden, that perception, that ability to understand why someone would say something that was so hard for feminine to carry, that in itself is helping the feminine, because it's helping them see something from a way that they hadn't potentially seen it before, that is helping them progress forward. It's not that it's easy. It's almost like it's additionally hard, because it's building that point of clarity on something that occurred that the feminine's been carrying forward with them. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union. This ability, again, this is why we see that this is almost feeling like the opposite that's at play right now. This isn't masculine potentially having to give this to feminine right now. Feminine, if you're coming into divine union right now, you may feel like you need to give this to masculine. Because what we're potentially seeing right now is this fact that we are recognizing that for some of the masculine energy that's had this breakthrough, that's opened up to feminine, and the feminine is staying steadfast in terms of the anxiety or the fear that masculine held in revealing and opening up in this way, that's now leading to a breakthrough, because masculine realizes that that availability was potentially present all the time prior to this. This could be a masculine that's moving from a space of holding themselves very, very accountable, almost over accounting now. And so we see here that this may be a masculine that may not necessarily be talking positively about their past experiences, but putting a lot of that weight on their own selves. And what is feminine doing right now of coming into divine union with a masculine that's doing that? Hey, you have to be easier on yourself. You did the best that you can at those times. You're showing an ability to change now. The ability to heal is always open. It's always present. You cannot judge yourself for having just reached this point of healing. So we see in a way the feminine is helping the masculine with this burden right now by helping the vast feminine realize that the ability to forgive oneself for the lessons that needed to come prior to this point is the gift of feminine helping masculine shoulder that burden. Because this is now something masculine sees and feels like it's added a weight that they need to carry forward. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is, again, feminine energy feeling the confirmation potentially from other masculine that the direction that they're moving in right now is the right one. And this is because this is masculine energy that's basically saying to feminine, if this is a masculine that isn't being open to you, even if it's coming from fear, that'll continue. That won't change. Accepting it won't change. It'll just solidify the fact here. That'll continue. That won't change. Accepting it won't change. It'll just solidify the fact it. It's not going to get easier. It's just going to get harder. It's not something that that's going to become easier to bear. It's just going to continue forward, and it's going to get even harder to do. It's not if, it's just when. Feminine and masculine in separation. If this is a modality wherein, again, two different modalities of masculine and separation right now, masculine both talking to other masculine energy. This is either a moment potentially of masculine, telling other masculine that they're in this position or circumstance. And again, if this is masculine that is saying that there is this point of the feminine asking for something, this is potentially other masculine energy trying to heal masculine energy in this modality, helping them get some perception and say, if you carry that fear of being open, that's not going to go away. It's just going to get harder. It's going to get worse. So this is almost, in a way, this is masculine energy getting a little potentially insight in separation, if this is happening, from other masculine energy to help them as they proceed forward from this point. Or again, if this is a masculine energy wherein honesty was brought forth to a feminine, that feminine asked for honesty, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, and instead of coming into a point of acceptance that led to rejection, that led to hostility, this is masculine affirming masculine's own ability to move away from something, because this is masculine saying to other masculine energy, they're creating an impossible situation. If they're asking for you to be honest, but then it's always going to feel like that honesty comes at a high price, or it's an act of punishment when you do so, that is something that is not going to get better. It's just going to continue and get worse. So these energies matching each other in separation right now. Clarification between our King of Swords in its reversal and our Nine of Cups in its reversal. Clarification coming through right now with our Seven of Cups. Masculine and feminine energy right now in the divine union frequency. This ability to carry the weight for each other, this ability to shoulder each other's burdens, this ability to open up even when you're feeling like you are not at your best, even when you're feeling like you're at your least confident. It is the gift of the divine union, because what it does is it opens your eyes to more possibilities. It gives you clarity. It gives you focus. It shows you things that you can't see. It's more of that movement right now of moving with intentionality, because in a way, that sense, that feeling is almost amplified in terms of saying to one another, the problems that we have right now are an embarrassment of riches. The ability to feel less than confident, and this is what is happening right now. The masculine and feminine energy in divine union is trying to show someone the difference between not knowing how to move forward, not having the confidence to move forward, versus feeling the overwhelm. And so what we're seeing right now is the energy in the divine union is trying to say to one another, what you're feeling is overwhelm. You're feeling the overwhelm of trying to move in a way that feels like it is the right way for you, because there are so many opportunities, because there are so many possibilities. That ability in recognizing that, the difference between feeling a lack and not being sure what to do, and not knowing what to do because there's so many different opportunities or options or directions, we're almost seeing here that the ability to make sure that you're moving in the same direction, that focus point, is what is happening right now for the energy in the divine union, because it's feeling like a sense of there being too many things to do, too much work. And having that point of moderation right now is almost key, because it's helping one focus. The energy in the divine union is trying to focus their intentionality on the path work going forward. And this is almost saying to one another, if you are feeling like you are not getting anything accomplished, you need to first say to yourself, are you actually not getting anything accomplished, or are you doing a million things at once and you get confused or overwhelmed in that moment? Because those are different problems. Masculine and feminine coming into, and that's more of a solvable problem, because that's just that moment of recognizing that there needs to be some intentionality and purpose in terms of, like, again, remember what I said, slowing things down, moving with intentionality, choosing a direction, not putting the cart before the horse. That's like a lot of the energy we're seeing right now for the energy in the divine union frequency coming through. The energy coming into the divine union frequency right now, this is why, masculine, you may be going through a little bit of a crisis point, even as you're going through a breakthrough. Because that ability of doing something in a way that you haven't done it before, and suddenly having an entirely new perspective on something, not just in the present, but now in the past, it feels like it's overwhelming, because you're now looking at situations that you cannot change, and you're seeing all of the possibilities of what could have happened if you learned this lesson sooner. It's like, that's what I said about looking backwards on the hallway and suddenly just seeing all of these doors there that you didn't recognize had you made this choice sooner. So navigating this right now, that what if energy for masculine, it's feeling very, very, very overwhelming. But again, being able to recognize, to be able to be kind to oneself, to realize that we can only find ourselves at the moment that we're healed. And it's very easy to judge how long it's taken us to reach certain milestones on our own journey. That's okay, because that's the moment we start to work on forgiving ourselves in the divine union frequency. What has the energy in the divine union frequency been doing? A lot of internal healing. Feminine, you may be helping a masculine with this right now, because again, it is this moment that is now opened, an abundance of opportunities and possibilities. If there's a masculine that's opening up in this way, having to carry the burden of masculine, potentially feeling this point of doubt in oneself, potentially even operating in this sense of like heaviness in what has occurred prior to this, may feel like there is a point right now where the feminine is trying to say to masculine, it's okay. You did the best that you could at those times. The fact that you've had this breakthrough now that's the gift. That is that point of positivity. That is that point, like, this is okay. Because now that you're here, now that you've arrived, look at all of the things present. Don't get caught looking too much at the past. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is the feminine energy right now, feeling that level or degree of frustration in separation. Because this is literally feminine energy that's going to such an extent to try to heal a masculine energy, to try to heal a connection with a masculine, that they're turning to other masculine for advice, trying to say, is there anything that I have not done that can try to clarify and help this energy recognize what they need to provide for us to be able to move into this energy? Is there any stone that I have not turned? And this is feminine feeling that profound confusion, potentially even going to another masculine to try to get advice, and them kind of saying, I don't see another option either. Masculine, if in separation right now, this is potentially, again, if there's either two different modalities of masculine and separation right now. This is masculine in separation that is confused because the feminine says that they want them, but isn't allowing them to come towards them. Again, feeling like they're going to another masculine energy saying they want me, but they say no. They're saying yes, but they're saying no. What is this? And this is masculine trying to help them, other masculine energy, trying to help them see, help them understand the nuance in that. What they may be offering the feminine isn't what the feminine is asking for. Or this is masculine energy that feels like they have been put in an impossible situation. This is a masculine energy that fulfilled the obligation of opening up to feminine. But instead of the feminine accepting that, instead of the feminine moving into a place of understanding, accountability, forgiveness, process, if this is a feminine energy that overreacted, pushed away, rejected the masculine at the time that they gave them what the feminine said they needed to in order to move forward. This is masculine energy, again, moving to other masculine energy and saying, am I missing something here? Is there anything I can do? And this is other masculine energy saying, no, you're being put in an impossible situation. So these energies are reflecting each other right now. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Nine of Cups in its reversal and our Hangman energy in its reversal. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with masculine and feminine both going through these moments. Feminine's going through a little bit of an emotional overwhelm right now. There's emotional overwhelm here. Why? Feminine energy is unpacking a lot of stuff from the past right now. I have to stress right now, if this is a modality or moment where masculine's looking to feminine about some, less accurate beliefs that feminine carries about themselves, and masculine is providing clarity to feminine in that moment, saying, well, I know who put this there. I know who's got you feeling like this. I know who the culprit is. This is feminine energy still carrying that emotional overwhelm because, again, recognizing the difference of navigating something that you're carrying versus being able to release it. Feminine wants to emotionally release something here. That burden, that trauma, that hurt is something that the feminine holds with them. And it's something that feminine is navigating because even that internal hurdle right now, how to release that energetic pain even if it's not something that is true about them, is something that, like, the feminine realizes and recognizes is very hard to release. Because again, it's the experience. It's like, this is why we need to be so careful about energetically wounding one another. Because when you energetically wound someone, it's not a wound that's easy to heal. It's feeling the weight of someone that potentially cared about you, that hurt you at a time that you were emotionally vulnerable to them. So it's a very deep internal wound. So even if you recognize that something isn't true, it then moves now into the phase of looking at someone and having to realize and recognize why someone would say something in that way, why someone would wound you in that manner. And having that moment of having to carry this right now for feminine is something that is very painful and something that is very heavy, because realizing and recognizing that you didn't deserve something isn't necessarily that feeling of being like, okay, I feel better now. Sometimes that makes it worse. And that's what we're seeing effectively. This is feminine trying to figure out how to release that kind of wound. So even if they're moving out of the space of believing something about themselves, moving it into like the next corridor of saying, well, someone treated me in a way that wasn't true. So it's like almost masculine being like, this is something about me. Masculine's going, that's not true. Whoever told you that was using you. And then feminine going, well, that hurts too. That doesn't make it, like, that just is a different kind of pain. So this is feminine shifting and being like, I have to accept the fact that the person that I allowed close to me hurt me in this way. And masculine's almost giving some intention or clarification that it feels like it may have been something that wasn't just coincidental, that there was potentially even intentionality there, or masculine energy that was operating from a fear mentality. So even now, feminine energy having to hold space for being wounded by energy in a different way, not believing something but still carrying it, is where we see that a lot of the energy in the divine frequency is utilizing to navigate right now, because it's almost feminine being like, how do I rid myself of this? How do I rid myself of that? How do I rid myself of the pain of feeling like I experienced something that I didn't deserve? Masculine helping feminine through this right now. Masculine also experiencing some of this. Masculine also feeling this right now. These energies are literally mirroring each other right now. Masculine going, I have the same problem. This is masculine almost saying, trust me, I have the same problem, as it relates to some feminine energy from the past as well. Masculine and feminine energy coming into, but that ability of carrying that mutual burden is the healing, because it's reminding one another that you're not alone in that journey by being open about past experiences. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union. This ability now is feeling very difficult for masculine, because masculine, this ability to see now, to see something in a way that you couldn't see it, not only is it building a sense of understanding in your own self, in what you could have been done differently, it's now helping you understand why some of the feminine energy in the past, if you weren't bringing this forward prior to this point, was in a place where there were so many emotional, overwhelming situations. This is what I mean about like the domino effect in a lesson. A lesson is not something that just affects your present moment. It affects all past experiences. It informs all those moments that something didn't work well, because you have to look at them from a new frame of reference. So this is bringing up situations and circumstances for masculine energy that's helping them understand why the feminine energy in the past may have pushed them away, may have been more guarded, may have even been more at an emotional overwhelm. Because masculine energy is seeing now that inability to co-create with feminine, that inability to be open with feminine, was something that the feminine was almost trying to amplify and articulate to the masculine energy prior to this point. But masculine energy, you may just be seizing and understanding now the full implications, having finally moved into a place that you're operating at that frequency of clarity, openness, and honesty. So being able to forgive yourself at this moment may be requiring a moment that we're seeing that you want to address or put attention towards some energy because it's immediately reminding you and calling back situations that you weren't doing so. Feminine, you may be seeing this on the part of a masculine right now. You may be recognizing that there's something about going through this right now. And this is either a masculine that is telling you circumstances where they tried to be this open with a feminine and it did not work in that way. Or this is masculine energy that is opening up in a way of saying and recognizing and feeling some additional burden of responsibility, potentially as to where they left you in the past, not being open in this way, or articulating that they understand now something that they didn't understand before. And even this moment feels very difficult for a feminine energy because this is a moment of seeing a masculine grasping a really important lesson. And this is almost a moment that is amplifying masculine's own need, if you're coming into divine union, to be very emotionally supportive for a feminine right now. Because this is almost a feminine energy watching a masculine grasp a new lesson and feeling the anxiety of what the masculine is going to choose to do with it. So that moment right now, that ability, this can be hard for some of the feminine right now because seeing the masculine understanding and opening up in this way feels in a way even more like an emotional anxiety point for the feminine, because this is feminine energy wondering if this is masculine. You know, this is almost, I need to stress masculine. This is a moment you may need to give feminine a lot of support in terms of recognizing that this is a feminine that's brought this out in you. Because that breakthrough is that moment that, like, again, feminine's almost holding back to a certain extent because they're watching you kind of go through this and they're now not sure how you're going to proceed. Masculine and feminine in separation, this energy here, this ability of feminine to look at something and effectively feel that impossibility point, feel like there's nothing else that one can do. It's emotionally overwhelming for feminine. This is, again, not feminine energy that wants to surrender a connection to masculine, but if there's an inability of masculine to be open and clear to the feminine, this is feminine that's just like feeling that heartbreaking moment, because that's, again, even turning to other masculine, this is a feminine that's feeling that weight of saying, like, they have to carry the burden of their own emotions here, and it's not something that is happy, but they feel like they have no other choice. They're almost moving away from something that they care about because the circumstances are impossible. Masculine, if in separation from feminine right now, again, two different modalities. Masculine, this could be a moment that's being pronounced by deep confusion. You're turning to other masculine, being like, they're not making sense. They say that they want to be with me, but then they push me away. Other masculine energy, if it's healed, is trying to tell you and explain to you the difference between what you might be offering the feminine versus what they really desire. Or, which is honesty, clarity, the full scope of what is happening around you. Being able to co-create instead of feeling like you're moving towards them like a possession. Masculine, if this is a modality where you gave feminine that clarity, you gave feminine that openness, and instead of it bringing a point of breakthrough, it brought a point of rejection, anger. This is also feeling that same similar reflected moment of feeling like there's nothing else that one can do. Because this is almost a feminine that demands and asks for clarity that they themselves can't emotionally bear. And that ability of seeing a feminine that can't regulate through asking for something and then receiving it, it feels like an emotional impossibility point. It's not something that you can build with. So that is also very overwhelming for some of the masculine energy because it feels like there's nothing else that one can do there. Clarification between our Hanged Man in its reversal in combination with our Four of Pentacles in its reversal. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now. The hardest part about this we're seeing is the fact that for a lot of the energy in the divine union, energy and separation right now, this is that moment of feeling, again, being put in an impossible situation. An impossible situation. Because again, the feeling of feeling like there's nothing one can do right now that can help someone have a breakthrough. Like literally, you can't do something to make another energy have a breakthrough. You can only move in a way that you feel will help encourage them to be able to learn enough on their journey to come back to a certain extent. What we're effectively seeing is, again, feminine feeling like they're caught in a rock and a hard place. They have to push away someone that they desire to be closer to than anyone, but not under the conditions that they're being offered. Masculine, this is a modality that we're seeing that, again, if there's a moment that feminine asked you for honesty and that honesty brought with it anger, aggression, pushing away, volatility, this is masculine feeling like you're also in an impossible situation, because this is a moment of looking at something and saying this person is asking for something, but they don't truly want it. Because when I bring it forward, they amplify that there's no progressive forward, like path forward. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union, the only weight here is the fact that something has taken a long time coming. Energetically, listen, for some of the feminine energy right now, the breakthrough point is being able to sit through something difficult and not run away from it, not react. Open your heart space to masculine and hold forth to show the masculine that's safe to be emotionally open in that way. Masculine energy right now, your own ability to open up in that way has created a breakthrough point and feeling like you're truly working in the divine union frequency with an energy of feminine that's a co-creator with you, as opposed to someone who's just a possession. That ability right now, it feels like it's carrying the burden and seeing places in the past where you weren't necessarily in that same modality. Which brings us to the energy that's in the divine union, which is, what are we seeing in the divine union? Masculine and feminine navigating the fact that you're carrying a lot of wounds from the past here. That observation point is not pretending that those wounds don't exist. It's not that moment of surrendering that burden. It's that moment that you share that burden together. Your past is what amplifies the strength that you have going forward, and your ability to recognize that that past still has some sort of hold, still has some sort of impact. That ability to recognize that is almost ability of looking at that past and saying, you didn't deserve that. Or again, building a sense of clarity between what is each's personal responsibility, the path to healing that they've been on, versus anything that they've been carrying with them that feels like it is too much of a burden, that it's not their karmic load to carry, to bear. It's not their cross to bear. It's not theirs to hold. That ability to say, that isn't true. That was from someone who was unhealed that had you believing that. That was from someone who was unhealed, who was unable to help you in that way. That ability to look at that and say, we're not saying that one is perfect, but to help recognize what is and is not true in the present is helping carry some of that feeling of rejection from the past. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 10 of Wands in combination with our 7 of Cups. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now. Again, this is where we get the gift of judgment. This is where we get the gift of judgment. And the energy in the divine union is literally looking at one another and saying, do you trust me? Do you trust my perception? Do you trust that I can tell what is real about you versus what is not? And this is almost, again, the energy in the divine union frequency helping each other, saying, yeah, that's you. No, that's a you thing. No, you do have that. You do have that tendency. Versus that is absolutely not true. Whoever told you that was pulling a smoke and mirrors game on you. Whoever told you that clearly didn't know what they were saying. Clearly didn't know what they were what they were seeing. Clearly didn't know you. And it was easier for them to put a false vision before you of what they thought they saw versus actually seeing you. The energy in the divine union, it's not the fact that you're giving, I have to say here, you're not sitting there, you're not feeding each other a false narrative. You're taking the accountability. You're pointing at someone being like, okay, yeah, actually that's a you thing. That's okay. Versus That's not true. That's just not true. What you think about yourself there is not true, or nothing I've ever seen of you shows that. And that ability to parse through, that ability to look at something and help one recognize what is true versus what is not, is the gift of the energy and the divine union. And how can you do that? How can you do that without full trust and full clarity? The energy in coming into the divine union frequency is recognizing that this is why the offer, the divine union, is built around openness, trust, and clarity. Because if not for that, how can you know that what one is saying to you is true versus not true? The ability energetically that you're learning right now, it makes things harder. Being honest makes things more difficult because it always brings in the possibility of choice. But the gift that is being recognized here is when you give someone the ability of choice and clarity, they can also help you see things more clearly, things that you could not see before. So what we are seeing here is, again, the energy of recognizing that even the ability to open up has suddenly given some energy, a lot of clarity on places in the past wherein they did not have this, and seeing them in a way that you did not necessarily see them before. And it feels like a blessing and a curse. It feels like a gift and a burden, because suddenly the ability to see something that you moved away from, you're seeing all the possibility that may have emerged if you learned this lesson sooner. So not being too harsh on oneself as you move forward from this point is really important. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is why we see that some energy right now feels like there is an impossibility metric because someone hasn't learned this lesson. The energies haven't been ready to come into divine union because one or the other isn't at the point of recognizing that lesson. This is either feminine feeling the impossibility point of a masculine that says that they want to be in divine union with feminine, but isn't giving feminine divine union. They're not giving them clarity, intentionality of purpose, co-creation, access. And this is feminine saying this is an impossibility point. There's no way we can continue forward in this without that clarity of choice there. Masculine energy moving even as someone's asking to stay in connection or stay in divine in union. Feminine being like, this isn't divine union. Whatever this is that you think is an illusion. You are asking me to live in an illusion. While the masculine energy at this moment, if this is a moment where you provided feminine this clarity and feminine overreacted, blew up, pushed you away, this is masculine that's almost, again, feeling that this is a feminine energy that would rather live in an illusion but insists that they don't. So for both energies right now, we see that there's a bit of this decision points that's being reached, and it feels like the decision is not one that you aspire or desire to. It's just something that you're coming into acceptance of the impossibility of a circumstance. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Seven of Cups and our Queen of Cups in its reversal. Yeah, this is the healing journey. Feminine energy right now in the divine union frequency. A lot of this emotional overwhelm that we are seeing from the feminine feels a lot like an even deeper level of healing that's coming into play. It's got to hurt to heal. Sometimes it's got to hurt to heal. Whatever masculine's bringing forth to feminine right now that's helping feminine get over some of these doubts of themselves is giving feminine a perspective on things that they haven't seen before. And it's allowing for healing to coming in, but it's painful healing because it's not the healing, I have to stress here, is an act of moving something out that the feminine's been carrying that they thought that they needed to heal within themselves and putting it externally in another. Taking that and feminine wanting to carry that, wanting to accept that about themselves, feeling like they needed to heal it about themselves, is feminine now moving into a different level of healing. I'm saying, I can't heal that because they're saying that it's not there. This is feminine needing to heal from the connection of someone that put something there where it ought not be. And feminine recognizing that, feminine feeling like that healing is occurring, is almost feminine accepting that there isn't something here within the feminine that they need to fix. That this has to do more with the energetic connections from the past that may have given feminine a false sense of something that they needed to heal that was not in fact the case. So we see that even now for feminine, that clarity, it's helping you heal, but it's emotionally overwhelming at the same time, because it's almost amplifying the desire for energy outside of the feminine to heal. Masculine and feminine, masculine, seeing feminine in this modality right now, it's hard. Because masculine, you may be providing this clarity to feminine to a certain degree. You yourself are also healing in this way. The thing with the masculine we're seeing here is this is masculine that's observed this a little bit sooner. This is masculine almost saying to feminine, I understand this. I understand this because I've experienced something similar from feminine energy. The difference here, masculine was able to a certain extent not to embody this as well, but it's still left a mark. We're seeing here that this is masculine trying to bear that same burden. Masculine moving through this a bit more, and feminine's doing the same exact work for masculine right now in the divine union. This is feminine doing, this is almost masculine saying, you've given me this gift. I was carrying this within myself too. You're helping me see the difference between what's mine to carry versus what some energy around me put on me. And that emotional point right now, it's hard. It's creating that sense of frustration for both energy, but it's also allowing for deeper healing to occur. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union, this is feeling a little bit more fraught. Because again, masculine moving into this state of openness. Even as you do so, is almost reminding you of places and spaces that you did not give this potentially to feminine in the past. And that, again, and this is why we see that for some of the feminine energy experiencing this right now, it feels a little bittersweet and it feels a little frightening, which is why you need to emotionally support a feminine in this moment if you're coming into this understanding. Because this is a moment that is stirring up circumstances from your past where you were not providing this, that may have led to difficulties, to hurdles. Understanding why the feminine may have reacted the way that they did. And that is even why we see now the feminine energy that's brought this out in you is almost needing that support right now, because this is that moment that we're seeing that feminine can see you very clearly. They can see, especially if this is a modality where you're just coming into connection, that you're understanding this journey of self has now opened doors for you. And that is why we see that for the energy right now coming into divine union, masculine, being able to emotionally support a feminine in this way right now and amplify that you're both doing this work and choosing together to come forward in this way is really important, because again, feminine energy is feeling very tender about this moment right now, because feminine energy is, again, feeling the weight of something that you may have brought forth to them that has given them a full understanding of the energy around you right now. And now the importance is making sure that you continue to affirm to that feminine that you are prioritizing them. That ability to open up in this way is your affirmation of prioritizing them. Because there's something here that could become a little bit volatile, because that anxiety point is potentially you presenting something to feminine right now and feminine feeling the uncertainty in how to navigate it. And now feminine is waiting for you to affirm what that path looks like going forward, because it's almost the openness does invite a question. And this is not a feminine that wants to tell you how to proceed. They want to see what you can do to heal it. And it does require that moment of mutual work. Feminine, your own ability right now to navigate this and to try to manage your own emotional stability has to start with you saying what you would aspire and desire going forward. Recognizing the value and power of your own desire here as opposed to becoming reactive is going to be really important, because there's a moment here that we see that, it's triggering. It's uncertain. And what do we do when we experience uncertainty? We have to affirm our intentions. So making sure, feminine energy, that you're not moving from a state of emotional overwhelm and you're not closing off, but instead articulating what your aspiration is going to be really important here, because that is you kind of moving again further into that modality of affirming to masculine that you're not going to close up in a time that they open towards you. You're going to stand firm and affirm what it is that you want with a masculine in order to further that healing. Masculine and feminine coming in separation. This is why we see right now that this is a point of emotional overwhelm for feminine that they're potentially trying to heal from. Because if this is a feminine that asks for this clarity and openness, and the masculine is trying to move towards feminine while refusing to offer this to them, this is feminine energy that feels like the only choice going forward is to heal from the connection. Masculine, if in separation, if this is a moment where feminine asked you for that openness, they asked you for that clarity, and instead of meeting you and affirming to you and telling you it's okay, if this is feminine that's closing off and reacting or pushing you away, this is almost a moment again that you're looking at something around the feminine and saying that you need to heal. So these energies are completely aligned right now. You're either on one side of it or the other. Queen of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Six of Wands in its reversal. Clarification coming through right now. Everybody's got to be open. And the problem right now with feminine is, again, feminine in separation. This is feminine like coming into a point of expression. This is literally feminine trying to do their best to articulate something to the masculine. But almost now wondering if it's like, what one can do. This is not a feminine that can force the masculine to open up in this way. This is, again, feminine almost saying the same thing, sad but true. When you are ready to be open in this way, this is feminine literally sending masculine away and saying, I don't want to be apart from you. When you are open to working with me in this way, I'm here. And that's all feminine can do to a certain extent. It's not the fact that feminine wants to push away. It's like they're trying to leave this communication to masculine and saying, I can't stay here. I can't remain here waiting for this. But if you ever find it, come back to me. Hopefully I'll still be here. Hopefully we'll still have a point of connection. Masculine, if in separation right now, you're potentially saying the same thing to feminine, which is when you're ready to navigate the truth. If this is a masculine and feminine energy that pushed you away or closed off, this is a masculine energy saying, when you actually are ready for the truth, when you're ready to embody my truth, when you're actually ready to work as a co-creator, when the thing that you ask for is not going to push us apart, but is going to pull us closer together, then you know where to find me. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is why you need to be affirming each other. You need to be affirming each other in a moment if someone's just opened up about something. Because what we're effectively seeing at this time is this fact that we're recognizing that feminine energy, even at this moment, it's very hard for feminine because something about that landscape that masculine's opened up and shown them, it does lead the feminine to feeling some point of anxiety as it relates to what that path is going forward. So it's really important right now for feminine not to step back, not to become reactive or emotionally close off, but to really hold forth and state your intentionality and your aspiration and your desire. And that may be hard for feminine right now because, again, something about this feels like it is emotionally triggering because you're feeling some anxiety about whether the masculine truly desires to be in that connection point with you. Masculine, being able to be open in this way requires you to reaffirm that you're opening up to feminine in this way because you are prioritizing the feminine. You have to amplify that potentially to feminine right now if you're moving in this way, because this is very tender territory for the feminine energy. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now. This is that modality where you're both already there. You're both already open with each other. It's not the fact that you've erased your past. You carry it with you every step you go. Either you carry it with you in terms of how you experience something or the wound that it left. Energetically, you don't hide this from each other. You're open about it. What you're doing here is you're guiding each other as it relates to how it impacts you and affects you now. Because it's a moment where, again, you potentially, the energy in divine union feels like at every moment they're operating on two different places. They're operating on the past where they find themselves while also trying to heal a lot of the energetic connections that brought them forward to this point. So we see that moment of dual path work, it feels very difficult because it's that moment that almost requires you to recognize that a lot of those feelings of doubt or uncertainty are what brought you to where you are today. And the ability to be open about them is effectively amplifying the fact that you're in a frequency where it is safe and open to be able to discuss things and realize that they're not going to be creating places of recrimination, places of advanced abandonment wounds. It's going to be places where you can just hold space for each other's healing. And that ability to see that, in a way, sometimes it feels like it amplifies one's own wound because you're finally in a place that you can observe the full capacity of it because it's not constantly being utilized against you. And even recognizing that, this is one of those moments where sometimes like the real healing begins when you move out of the trauma situation, because when you're in the trauma situation, you're always trying to move away from the trauma. It's the moment that you start to heal that things can start to feel like they're more amplified because you're allowing yourself to fully feel the impact. And we see that that's effectively happening right now for a lot of the energy, masculine and feminine in divine union. So you need to be gentle with yourselves right now. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Judgment card and our Devil card in its reversal. Big cards. Big cards. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now. And again, this is what we're talking about in terms and in relation to being easy with yourself prior to this moment. Because it becomes very easy as you progress on your path of healing. The more that you understand about yourself, the more that you see that you could have corrected in the past experience. It can put a lot of weight on you. It can put a lot of those feelings of judgment on who? On you, on your own self. What's important is moving into that space of forgiveness, in recognizing that you can only know the things that you know at the time that you know them. And having that ability of understanding that anything that led you to the path of healing, in a way, was a part of the healing. I know that sounds counter-oppositional, but it's true, because that moment that you made the intentional choice of doing something different is going to magnify all the places that you could have made that choice sooner. That's heavy here. And the energy in the divine union frequency is supporting each other as you recognize those moments that you're holding yourself even more accountable than you have before. The energy in the divine union frequency is not righteous. It's not saying I have always been perfect and that's why I've gotten to where I am today. The energy in the divine union frequency says, I'm always messing up. The way you climb a stair is not standing on a step and screaming that you've reached the summit. You look at it and go, I got to move higher. I got to continue forward. This is always a journey. And if you're doing that journey correctly, it's always going to feel bittersweet, because you're always going to have to look down at yourself and be like, darn, I really didn't know what I was doing then, or then, or then, or then. Because that's the moment that you can have that observation. It's harder when you're falling because you can't see, you have to look up. But even when in either way, That ability to identify that you still have somewhere to go is always going to be amplified in the places that you didn't have those success metrics. So it can be very painful, even if it's healing, because it's constantly taking that point of accountability and then constantly having to forgive yourself. So going through this right now energetically, it's going to feel a lot. It's going to feel a lot right now. Making sure that you don't focus on the negative, on building that sense of anxiety within the self, letting those self-limiting beliefs, even based on past experience, not letting them drag you down, recognizing that the perception, the ability to see that is the sign of healing right now, is going to help that not build that sense of overwhelm, but recognize that you're continually progressing. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union, you may just be feeling this for the first time. And this is why we see that some of the energy right now you need to amplify to each other, that you're prioritizing each other in this moment. Because you're both coming into recognition of a lesson. And what's that lesson making you do? It's making you turn your head back and look at all the places you could have put that lesson before. What do you do at that moment? You go, hey, I'm right here with you. We're doing this together. The healing's coming through. We brought each other here. We're going to continue forward on this. Feminine and masculine need this to a certain extent right now. Feminine needs to affirm to masculine, if this is masculine opening up in this way, I'm here to accept you for this. I'm not going to reject you for this. I know there may be in places in the past where someone made you feel like they were going to reject you if you were open in this way. I'm not going to be that person. Masculine needs to say to feminine, hey, I know I just realized this. I know I'm telling you that there are places I should have done this before. I'm not running back to those places. I'm not running back to those. Those places did not make me feel safe to open up in this way. This is the pinnacle point. Recognizing that, having that observation is allowing the energy to proceed forward on that healing journey, but it needs to amplify that. Recognizing why something didn't work does not mean that you're going to go back to try to fix it. It's affirming that you are focused on the present, not the past. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is why it feels like a point that's so frustrating, because you're hitting what feels like an impossibility point in being able to proceed forward. But there's healing here because there's the understanding of why. If this is a feminine energy that's seeing a masculine that will not open up at a time that feminine's asking them to be clear, honest, intentional. Feminine saying that they need to heal from the connection because it's impossible. It shows no productive path forward without that clarity. Masculine, if this is a moment that you gave feminine this clarity and instead they're closing up, they're getting reactive, they're panicking, it's creating conflict instead of progress. This is masculine saying there's an impossibility point. They're asking me for something that they could never, they know they don't truly want. So for both of those energies, even if in separation right now, there's a lot of healing that's potentially coming with the hope and aspiration that the other energy will understand and return if this lesson is when this lesson finds them. Clarification between our Devil card in its reversal and our Nine of Wands in its reversal. Again, a lot of care of the self coming through today. All right, I want everybody, I don't want to hear anybody using anything about coping mechanisms. I want you to put that care and attention in one's own self today. Focus on what you need to feel safe, seen, and supported, because what we're seeing today, and this is why we see that there's a lot of overwhelm here, that ability of having to heal is one that feels very overwhelming. The energy in the divine union intentionally set their path on trying to amplify some of this healing right now. It's requiring them to face a lot of things internally that they've still been carrying, that they've still been holding. What is the energy in the divine union doing right now? They're being open about it. They're being expressive. They're not putting on a false front here. They're expressly opening about the fact that this isn't easy. That there may be something here that doesn't feel like it's ever fully going to heal, and that's okay too. that observation point. And again, the important thing is when we're moving through our healing, recognizing then that journey is never effectively finished. It's more about how we take care of each other on the way, is amplifying energetically that sense of care that we give to one another. And it's amplified in, again, how one moves during triggering situations and circumstances. The energy in the divine union, does it pull back? No, it gives more. And I have to stress here, the energy in the divine union overgives to the divine union because it recognizes that the energy would do the same in kind. This is a space or place that almost like forces overgiving, because that ability to overgive is almost immediately met with someone who's also able to do the same in kind. And that ability here amplifies that this is a safe space to overgive in that capacity, because it's like the more that you give, the more that you heal. What's really important right now, though, is, again, amplifying care of the self, even in the divine union frequency, not overgiving to the divine union frequency right now to the point of exhaustion. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union frequency right now. This observation point, having just reached a bit of a breakthrough, recognizing a milestone in the self, is feeling overwhelming because it's making you recognize all the places and spaces that you didn't necessarily do it prior. And that moment or that modality feels like it is both healing and overwhelming at the same time. And it is, again, reminding you that the choice that you're making, this is not a union that is built on like holding someone because you can. It's based on choice, which is why even now I have to stress for the energy coming into divine union, if you're opening up in this way, you have to amplify the choice that you're making at this moment. You have to amplify it, because again, it's recognizing and remembering that the divine union is the gift of choice. So what do we do to amplify the fact that it's a gift of choice? We reaffirm that choice at every moment. It's not a set it and forget it. This is coming into that space of realizing and recognizing that in the divine union frequency, you have to amplify continually that you're continuing to make that choice. Masculine and feminine in separation right now, this is feeling a huge energetic or spiritual exhaustion right now, because again, it is the desire to want to heal someone, but recognizing that you can't. Recognizing that there's only so much you can give to someone will not fix or heal someone else. They have to be willing and observe what they need to change within themselves to be able to be on that journey. And right now what's so overwhelming is energetically, someone is almost trying to say to someone, if in separation on both sides of this, they're trying to show someone what needs to be healed, because there's a release that's happening and there's a desire not to release it. Feminine's trying to say to masculine, don't you understand? I want to be with you, but I can't under these conditions. When you're able to be open, when you're able to co-create with me, find me. I have to leave now. This is not healthy for me. Masculine saying to feminine, if this is a masculine that's been healing and has opened up the way feminine asked, and instead it's led to reprisal, or it's led to feminine pushing the masculine away. This is masculine trying to say to feminine, don't you see? I was trying to heal. I was trying to be open with you, but you're making it impossible for me to be open with you because the response is your own emotional overwhelm. It's like I can't create. It's not creating a space that I can inhabit. I can't. You're asking me not to create an illusion, but then you get mad when I don't. This is masculine saying, when you know how to do this, when you manage this, find me. I don't want to be in separation. Energetically, both energy feeling a huge emotional overwhelm here, but doing what they feel like they need to do to preserve themselves in situations that feel like they're too energetically or spiritually exhausting. Final card, Chariot in its reversal in combination with our Ace of Cups in its reversal. This is difficult. This is vulnerable energy right now. A lot of vulnerability here. Divine union, even now, observing these moments, it feels a little bit like a raw wound. Your vulnerability is being addressed here. There's a moment here that is feeling like that frustration in wanting to progress forward on something and feeling like you don't, that there's like a level of powerlessness on this, because we're seeing here that energetically right now, some of the issues that are coming up are places or spaces that feel like these are some deep karmic healings that need to happen, because it's one of those moments of feeling like the more you give to something, it's not necessarily fixing it. It's just amplifying the frustration on something that you would have preferred to move forward in a certain way, but you haven't seen that happen. And so carrying that frustration point right now, it feels very overwhelming. For feminine, this is that modality of having to surrender something that someone told you about yourself, but almost moving this now into the space of having to recognize that whatever that was some kind of false narrative that someone had about you, and not understanding fully why, not necessarily understanding the full context, feeling like there's an impossibility point, never receiving it, never really knowing. Masculine, this may be feeling again, potentially past and energetic connections, wherein again, everything you tried to bring forward just resulted in a feminine that was again put too much emotional imbalance on you. Created too much of a space of putting blame on you instead of wanting to grow with you. These impossibilities, these barriers, they are creating spaces within us. They're wounds that we carry. They're false narratives that created within us about our own failure point and not being able to see something that we aspired to grow and thrive. But that ability to recognize that and to hold space for it and not to judge each other for it, but to give each other a sense of care and empathy. Even now in the divine union frequency, we see that that ability to be vulnerable can be utilized as a strength, but it is requiring a lot of care of the self today as we do so. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union today. I gotta stress, if you've been open in this way, you've got to amplify the prioritization of each self to one another right now. Because there could be some energy falling back into separation right now over the conditions that I just stated. Feminine right now, having a full picture of something, is feeling very emotionally overwhelmed. They need masculine to reassert to them and amplify that their intentionality and their prioritization is the choice of the feminine if they've opened up in this way. You can't just do one and then not provide the other. You can't just provide the openness and then just leave the openness there for the feminine to figure out what it means. You've got to come forward with clarity and making sure that this is a feminine that you've opened up to in this way, that this is you prioritizing the feminine here by clarifying to the feminine how to move forward and to starting that conversation. Feminine, if this is a masculine that's opened up to you in this way, this is a place you have to hold space for it if you want to move forward into divine union. That ability to hold space through something that feels like it is triggering or wants to make you emotionally close off is also requiring you to a certain extent to reaffirm to masculine your own affirmation and the fact that whatever's been brought forth does not stop or block your choice to move forward with them going forward. This is mutual. This is right. This is back and forth right now, making sure to reaffirm each other, because both energies, this could lead to separation right now if that affirmation and that intentionality isn't in play. Energy that is falling into separation over this, I'm explaining to you the conditions. If this is a feminine, that again, there's some feminine energy potentially are falling out into separation right now, especially if this is masculine that opened forward. And instead of creating that sense of space of holding the masculine, reaffirming to masculine your own commitment to stay to masculine, even as they give you this clarity, this is potentially leading to separation right now. And for some of the masculine energy, if this is a moment where feminine has continually said to you that they need this openness and yet you refuse to provide it, this is potentially leading to separation right now. And if the energy is in separation, this is why the energy is departing with sadness, because it feels like an impossible situation. This is feminine feeling like this is a masculine that's not providing any way to move forward. And this is masculine feeling like feminine energy is asking for one thing, but then showing through their actions that they don't actually want it. So care of the self, especially for the energy and separation right now, is key. Bottom of the deck on this reading, a lot of energy in relation to the energy surrounding the divine union right now. What did I tell you? In the energy coming into divine union right now, when you open something like this, when you show someone full optics of something, you need to then provide context as it relates to where your priority is. Because that ability to just bring something forward here, it brings anxieties, it brings doubts, it brings fear. It needs clarification. You can't just kind of put something like this on the table and just allow it to sit. It requires, again, we're back on that confirmation point in requiring the understanding that when you move into divine union, there needs to be an energetic prioritization, a commitment as it relates to helping someone understand and identify whether you are, whether they're outside or inside of that energetic space. And that's what we're effectively seeing here. Feminine energy and separation, masculine energy, this is what we're seeing. If masculine energy isn't opening up to feminine in this way, this is feminine just feeling like this is a masculine that's not ready to prioritize a single feminine over the energies that are around them. That lack of openness is affirming a masculine that, whether they recognize it or not, is choosing to keep all the energy around them at the same prioritization level. Masculine in separation right now, if this is a moment or modality wherein feminine energy asked you for openness and then, brought you back into a space of pushing you away. This, in a way, almost, again, it's hard because it feels like it reaffirms some kind of lesson that you feel like you were trying to move away from. And that ability right now is almost hard because, again, it makes you feel that, like, energetically, that there's something about feminine energy that plays games. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is why that prioritization needs to be made, because something about opening up in this way, like I said, it's not just enough to be able to explain to someone what is going on in your life or the energy at play in your life. You have to explain where they fit in that prioritization. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency, this has a lot to do with outside obligations. This has to do a lot. There's a lot of hard work that's happening here for the energy in the divine union frequency. And it's hard because, like, a lot of this, it feels like it's heavy lifting. And it almost feels like, again, a lot of the energy around the divine union frequency, it feels like they don't necessarily understand, right? This is that moment that we're seeing that you're trying to, like, heal some energy that you experienced around you right now. But that lack of understanding in terms of where they were on their own journey when certain things happened, it almost creates that point that, like, has a question here. Because it almost, like, makes you kind of look at some of the outside energy outside of the divine union and just observe that they haven't been on the same healing journey. And it's that differentiation between someone who was doing their best at the time versus potentially someone that recognized how much damage they were potentially causing on the way. Navigating between those 2 points is very hard right now. That is where we find ourselves. That is our daily collective read for today. I'd like to thank you guys so much for being here, to experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website, so I encourage you to do it there. I'd like to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing with me in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.